So I'm not sure how the mayor thing came about, but you know, it's okay, we're gonna run with it. And great to see all you guys in Butchertown. Kind of a little bit tough talking to people who are getting ready to do a pub crawl. Because I had a 65-minute presentation, but I think you guys want to go drink, so I'm going to shorten it. You know, my dad always said the mark of a great speech is to have a really interesting opening, a great finish, and put them as close together as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. My dad was a smart guy. I wanted to introduce somebody very important to me who's here, and I'd like you all to give her a hand. And before you do, when I was 16 years old, my mom made a chocolate cake, and I ate it without telling anybody, and she never knew. And so, Mom, I ate a chocolate cake when I was 16. Can you please give a hand to my mom? Who's here? She is so nice. You know, you deserve it. You know you deserve it. She's like, I deserve it. I put up with him. So anyway, I'm excited you guys are at Butchertown. I first came into Butchertown in 1997. And I bought the Butchertown Market Building, which was the Caudell Seed Building. And it had been on the market for 2 years. And they asked a lot of money for it, and it kept going down every month. And finally, it hit a month where I could afford it. And so I bought it, and I called up my dad, who was a great real estate guy. And he did Caden Tower, and he did Holiday Manor, and he did a lot of really great projects. And I put in a resume to him, but he said he wasn't hiring. You know, which is okay. But he helped me out on all my stuff, and I called him and I said, hey, I found this building. And he said, well, tell me about it. And I said, well, it was built in 1880, and it's got 400 windows. And he said, how are they? And I said, they all need to be replaced. And then he said, how's the HVAC? And I said, it doesn't have any heat or air. And he said, how's the parking? And I said, it's 8 parking places. And he said, how big is it? And I said, 85,000 square feet. And he said, it's an 85,000 square foot building with 8 parking spaces. He said, what else? I said, it's across the street from a pig slaughterhouse. He said, hey, let me ask you a question. Have you already bought it? And I said, yes. And he said, I love it. Which is the kind of guy he was. And I said, Pop, what would you have said if I didn't tell you I bought it? He said, water under the bridge. He said, we're going to make it work. So, you know, I'm so glad that I didn't know then what I know now, because I might not have bought it, right? And so, I think it's really important to just, like, the name of this talk is go for it. Just to go for it, right? So, I want to tell you about this building. This is a 1020 building. This was Dryden provided. It was built in 1968 by Mr. Dryden. He always wore a big Stetson hat. His son took over, John Dryden. They have a Dryden providing Pilsner here that's really, really good. The 5th one tastes better than the first one. I don't know how that works. But anyway, so we own Work the Metal retail store in Butchertown Market. If you haven't been there, it's a great place for gifts. And if you're there and you see me, I'll give you a VIP behind the scenes tour. But anyway, this woman, Mr. Dryden's daughter, was shopping at Work the Metal, and she said, oh, aren't you the mayor of Butchertown? I'm like, not really, but. And she said, hey, my dad might want to sell his building. So I love this building. So it was a frozen meat warehouse. So I called Mr. Dryden in like 30 seconds. And I said, hey, I'm interested in buying your building. He's like, well, I'm not ready to sell, but I'll sell in a couple years, and I'll make sure I bring it to you first, because I like what you've done, you know? And so I called him every week for about 5 months. And he was a salesman, a really nice guy. And he said, Andy, if you stop calling me, I promise you, I'll put it in writing, you get first shot at the building. And I called him the next week, and I said, I can't stop calling you. I have a problem. And I never stopped calling the guy. And finally, he's like, okay. And he sold it to me. But the problem was, I said, I was talking to my dad again, and I said, I have good news and I have bad news. And he said, what's the good news? And I said, I got the Dryden building. He said, what's the bad news? And I said, I bought a frozen meat company. So the only way he would sell it to me was to sell the frozen meat company with it. I thought meat popsicles, right? But anyway, luckily I had a friend that owns Creation Gardens, and he bought the frozen meat company. Thank you, Ron Tenier, wherever you are. So anyway, these were freezers. And they had meat hooks with carcasses on it. Like, it was wild. And this was, you know, so the way this was built, it was a conveyor system where the meat would come in and then it would go out processed. Because there were tons of different meat warehouses in Butchertown. Oh, so one last thing I want to tell you. So when I bought the Butchertown Market Building, 15 days later, the Home of the Innocents announced that they had bought the stockyards and that they were going to convert it. And my ex-wife, who wasn't my ex-wife at the time, came in and said, I am so sorry I doubted you. You're a genius for buying this property because they're developing the stockyards. And I said, they're developing the stockyards? And I was in the shower at the time, and she had the newspaper and she threw it in the shower. Very angry woman. Angry woman. But, so what I would tell you all is have a good time. You're going to Copper and Kings. That's Joe Heron started Copper and Kings. Lovely guy from South Africa. And he helped a great deal with the ethos of Butchertown, which Butchertown is a loving, compassionate place where we wanted to be the DNA of Louisville. And he would say to me, and he really helped get Lou City, and he really helped get the stadium built. And he was a grassroots guy. And getting the stadium totally changed everything. It changed the complexion of everything. But he would say to me, Andy, we have momentum, now we need velocity. And I was like, that is the most awesome thing I've ever heard. So we're trying to get velocity now in Butchertown. You know, there's no, you know, we don't do homogenous here. We don't have any, not that there's anything wrong with national chains. Well, okay, national chains suck, okay? We don't have any of that here. It's a lot of mom and pop. It's a lot of homegrown. It's a lot of local people that live and work here, right? Very proud of that, very proud of Nulu and what's happened there. You know, we have tons of people that come and visit from out of town. So what I would say is we're just so glad to have you guys here. Copper and Kings is awesome. South Seas is one of my buildings, and it's really interesting. Whirling Tiger is cool. They have a lot of great concerts there and great events. And you know, we're all in it together, and everybody loves one another in Butchertown, and we like to keep that up. So what I would say to you is crawl hard on your pub crawl. Like, crawl really, really hard. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.